So I got an email from a reporter who was looking for a source to explain how a celebrity who has it all could commit suicide. Well, I wrote that my firsthand experience explains exactly how, but why do we presume a successful career followed by fame and fortune equals having it all? Are we really that shallow? They didn't call me back. Welcome back to Be More Better, where a better world starts with a better you. If this is your first time here, welcome! On this channel, you'll find tips, tricks, hacks, deep thoughts, and more to help you be at least a little more better today than you were yesterday. That's the goal anyway. I apologize for my post-cold voice. I am still trying to get more better. If you like what we're trying to do, subscribe. And if you don't want to miss a video or podcast, click the notification bell after you subscribe. Otherwise, your sub is meaningless. This is a topic that hits home to many of us, and it's no wonder. Over the past 17 years, suicide has risen in the United States by well over 30%. Nearly 45,000 people ended their lives in 2016, and it's among the top 10 causes of death. That's insane. As always, your experience, your opinion, your analysis is important to the discussion, so let us hear from you in the comments below.
Listen up, listen up, listen up.
So why did this reporter think celebrities had it all? What is all? Is worldly success all there is to life? Of course not. Then why would we even presume to think that just because they've achieved a level of success in one aspect of their life, that they've had the same level of success in the other aspects of their life? Isn't there more to life than just being famous?
You have so many questions to answer.
Now, I don't blame the reporter for oversimplifying. It's natural to oversimplify when trying to make sense out of something like this. But trying to reduce a problem to a single cause can lead us to the wrong solutions when dealing with a complex issue or a piece of machinery more complex than a car. In this case, I'm talking about the mind. It's not always just one reason an individual decides to take their own life, and it's not always related to mental illness. Again, we always want to throw it to mental illness. Why? Maybe it's because we believe there has to be something mentally wrong with someone to want to do this in the first place. Or maybe it's because it's easier to blame it on mental illness when the other possibilities are either too hard to admit or too difficult to deal with. But when our current prevention methods are oriented toward mental health issues, which the latest CDC report confirms, and our suicide rate still rises by over 30% in the US, then it has to be more than just a mental health issue.
I think he's got a point.
There's a lesser known pyramid chart out there, not the food pyramid. It's not a pyramid anymore, it's a plate. What? Well, this is my food plate. All right then. So by default, our reigning hierarchical pyramid is not one of food, but of needs. Developed in 1943 by American psychologist Abraham Maslow, his pyramid lays out a progression of our most fundamental needs that motivate us humans. You have your basic needs or your physiological needs, food, shelter, then our psychological needs like esteem, love, and belonging. All these are called your deficiency needs because the more deficient you are in any of these needs, the more motivated you are to satisfy it. For example, the hungrier you are, the more motivated you are to find food. Yum, 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 yum. As these deficiencies increase, so does your stress level. Now, above this line, the pinnacle of the pyramid is the need of self-actualization. This is the desire to fulfill your potential. Maslow once said, "A musician must make music, an artist must paint, a poet must write if he is to be ultimately at peace with himself." Why does he sound British? He's from Brooklyn. What does all this have to do with suicide? It's all about balance. When any of these deficiency needs are thrown out of balance for whatever reason, anxiety and tension start to increase. And the more severe the imbalance, the more depressed and anxious we become, especially if we see no possible way to have those needs fulfilled. But what does the data say? Here's what I found, and based on my analysis, as flawed as it may be, or as taboo as it may be to say it, I can no longer say the vast majority of suicides are a result of mental illness.
Oh, snap.
This is why. Here we go. Here is just the latest report, June 2018 from the CDC. The data not only tracks the suicide rates from 1999 to 2016, but also the surrounding circumstances. That's where it gets interesting. See, over the past 17 years, suicides have gone up in every demographic, including both sexes, all racial groups and ethnic groups, all urbanization levels. In fact, here are the top 10 states with the highest suicide rate. Add to that states whose rates increased more than 30%, and you have over half the country. Now look at this, and I just want to focus on the column that shows the circumstances surrounding the suicide deaths of those without any known mental illness, like depression, which is the biggest mental illness reported in suicide victims. 75%. Anxiety comes in second place, but it's not even close at 16%. Okay, back to the factors surrounding suicides without a known mental illness. Now keep in mind, none of these are mutually exclusive. The biggest contributing factor was relationship problems or loss. 45% of those without a known mental illness were experiencing problems in their personal relationships. 30% had problems with an intimate partner. 33% had recently gone through a crisis or were about to go through one within the next 2 weeks. 25% had substance abuse issues. 50% suffered from other life stressors, such as physical health problems, which made up 23% of those individuals. Nearly 16% had legal problems, and over 15% had job or financial issues. But here's the most revealing thing about this data. Let's look at the data column for those with known mental illness. The known stress factors are nearly identical. Mental illness or no mental illness. The highest factors rank in order of personal relationships, intimate partner relationships, recent or impending crisis, again usually involving an intimate partner or health issue, substance abuse, health problems, legal problems, then job and financial issues. If the known characteristics surrounding suicides of both those with and without mental illness are the same, then is it not fair to conclude that the vast majority of suicides are not a result of mental illness, but of the stress, anxiety, hopelessness, and even fear that is induced when the most fundamental pillars of life start crumbling from underneath them? Where do intimate relationships fall in the hierarchy of needs? Psychological. Physical health issues? Physiological. Economic issues? Well, that's both physical and psychological, as it also deals with feelings of competence which tie into self-esteem, maybe even self-actualization. Criminal and legal troubles? All of them. Let's take one last look at the celebrity and Maslow's Triangle. It's easy to assume that since they made it to the pinnacle of self-actualization, that their basic needs have been met, and they have it all. That's the illusion, right? But there is a price to pay when living at the top. The energy required to maintain that level of success across time is intense. Sacrifices are made. And where do those sacrifices come from? That's right. A drug of choice is sometimes used to compensate, and also instead of feeding those deficiency needs, they feed the self-actualization needs to compensate as well. And what happens is that as the pinnacle of that individual's pyramid grows larger, if proper care and attention isn't paid to keeping the rest in balance, those basic and psychological needs grow anemic until it becomes so top-heavy and unsustainable, it collapses on itself. So why do celebrities commit suicide? For the same reasons all the other victims do. Living an increasingly unbalanced life, by their own doing or someone else's, or both, to the point where no hope of recovery is believed possible. Real quick, the suicide hotline shared this meme a little while ago. Suicide does not end the chances of life getting worse. Suicide eliminates the possibility of it ever getting better. While that is actually true, at the same time it's also completely wrong.
Wait, what?
That statement isn't going to help anyone standing on the ledge. It misses the point completely because it bears no resemblance to the frame of mind of one who's gotten to that point in the first place. As someone who has stood on that ledge more than once, I will tell you that when someone gets to that point, for them, life is already worse, and they cannot see that possibility. That's why they jump. Life does not have to be this way. If you're struggling, find something worth living for, and use that to motivate you to take up the reins of your life again, to keep it from spinning out into oblivion. Use it as an anchor so when life happens and disrupts your balance, or you do something dumb that messes things up, you'll at least have a foundation on which you can build. But you can't do this alone. Find someone, a loved one, a friend, a professional, to help you put the pieces of your life back in balance and learn the coping skills necessary to prioritize and just keep your balance so you can start to climb Maslow's mountain and start living with purpose again. Remember, it's never too late to be more better, and I'd love to hear what you think. What's your experience been? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thanks for watching. Why does he sound British? He's from Brooklyn. I guess because he's smart. If you're smart, you have to have a British accent. Or if you're evil or smart, I think that's the rule. You gotta have a British accent. Okay.